Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Kafaya. I'm a community learning specialist with DoSpace, and I will be facilitating today's after school club session. I'm very excited to have you guys here with me, and I hope that you have as much fun as I plan for us to have today. So like I said, my name is Kafaya, and this is DoSpace Digital After School Coded Session. I hope awesome. There seems to be a couple of you guys today, so I'm excited. So just like we have for the past two sessions, we would be continuing our exploration of the Kano World interface. And last week or 2 weeks ago, we worked with loops. And what we have for today is events in programming. Just to explain why we're doing this, the hope of the classes or the session is to make sure that you guys are not only having fun in these classes, but also learning and understanding a few of the programming concepts, so that anywhere that you see them, you are able to identify them and understand how they work or why your code is acting the way that it is. Okay, so what we have planned for today with events in Kano coding is we're going to watch an introductory video that basically gives us an overview of how events work in programming, especially on the Kano World interface. And then we're going to go ahead and practice with the different events, the challenges that they have on there. You guys can work along with me, or if you like to watch me walk, that is also awesome too. So without further ado, these are the challenges that we have for today. We're going to learn to draw with code. We're also going to try a few challenges like the button DJ and how to grow a pizza. I'm very curious to see how that works, right? Because I like food. So anything that has to do with food, I'm very enthusiastic about figuring it out, right? Okay. So let's get on to the Kano website. If you have an account, feel free to log on and go into the challenges. And if not, you can just watch me do what I do. And then after the session today, you can go back at your own time to experiment and explore all the amazing challenges and the fun things that you can learn on the Kano World website or Kano Code website. So like I said, we're exploring the world of events today, and this is the first video that basically gives us an overview of what events actually mean. Before programming, anytime I hear about events, I typically think that it's for like a party or like a seminar or a conference. So it's nice to see what events mean with programming. So let's get started. Let me know if you guys can hear the video. I'm gonna make sure that all of my sound is working, and yes, and we can go from here. So please make sure to pay attention and try to learn a thing or two from the video. And once we're done watching the video, there'll definitely be some time for us to discuss anything that maybe stood out to us in the video. You guys can share your opinions or ideas with me, and I'm definitely going to discuss with you guys a few things that I thought were really cool and are useful to remember. So let's go.
Hey gang, Leah here. In this video, we're going to be learning about event blocks. So, what's an event? Well, event blocks in code are a lot like events that happen in your real life, like Christmas or a birthday party, for example. Imagine we've got a code block that says when birthday. We could put another piece of code inside of it that says eat cake. So, when birthday runs, we eat cake. With event blocks, we can trigger code to run when certain things happen. So, like with our birthday party and we eat cake, We can have things like when you touch the screen or when you say something into the microphone, we can run some code. Event blocks in Kano code are usually attached to a part, like a button or a microphone part. A great example of an event block is our good friend that we've used many times, the when app starts block. That's an event block because when the app starts, it runs the code that's inside of it. But today we're going to be focusing on making something we can draw with. And for that, we can use a touch part. Let's get started by opening up parts and adding a touch part. So I'm going to click on add parts and I'm going to find touch. Now, the great thing about our touch part is that it doesn't just work with touchscreens, it also works with a mouse as well. So if you're using a mouse or a trackpad or a touchscreen, it'll work for all of them. So because we've just added a part, we've now got a brand new touch tray. So I'm going to open that up. And in here, we've got lots of different events. Now, you can tell what an event is because it looks like a C-shaped block. It's because it has room inside for things to happen when it runs. I'm going to start by grabbing the on touch part, the very first one, and I'm going to drag that out onto our coding space. First thing I'm going to do is have the background of our canvas change color when we touch or click on our canvas. So I'm going to open up the draw tray and grab a set background color block and put that inside of our touch on touch block. And right now we're just setting it to white. So I'm going to go into the color tray and get a random color block. So now I'm going to click on my canvas because I've got a mouse, and let's see what happens. It changes color. And every time that I'm clicking it, it's going to change to a different random color. One thing you might have noticed about events blocks is that they have these little lightning bolts on them. So if we just zoom in here, now if I click on our canvas, you'll see the lightning bolt light up. So you can see when your event block is being triggered by the lightning bolt going yellow. Okay, let's zoom back out a little bit. Time to do some drawing. Let's open up our draw tray. And we're going to grab a move to block and drag that into our on touch block. And I'm going to go back into the draw tray and grab a stamp block from the bottom. Click it in here and I'm going to make it a random sticker. Cool. So now when I touch the canvas, we've got a random sticker, but it's all the way in the top left because we've put it at a draw move to of 5 by 5. So what we can do is get where I touched on the canvas using our touch part. So let's open up the touch tray. So in our touch tray, underneath all of our touch event blocks, we've got two more. We've got touch X and we've got touch Y. And both of those store different positions, either where you've touched the canvas on the X axis or where you've touched the canvas on the Y axis. So if we grab our touch X and we drag it to our move to X, and we grab the touch Y and drag it to the move to Y. So now when I click on the canvas, I'll have a sticker turn up at exactly the position that I've just clicked. And that's because now our draw move to block knows exactly where we've touched using the touch X and the touch Y blocks. Let's mix this up a bit and make it a bit more like something we can draw with. So I'm going to open up our touch tray, and this time we're going to pick up the touch on move event. I'm going to drag that out. I'm going to pop it over here next to our code, and I'm going to pick up and move our draw move to block and our draw stamp block. If I just drop them in here. So now if I click my mouse and I move it, we'll keep having new stickers appear. And if you look at the lightning bolt on the on move, you can see it's flashing a lot because it keeps running because I keep moving my mouse. And when I let go, it stops flashing because I'm not moving anymore. And our touch on touch is still working. So whenever I touch, it still changes the background color. So this is really fun to play around with, but it's not very good at drawing things. So I'm gonna get rid of our draw stamp block. So I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna just drag it down into the bin, and that'll get rid of that block. I think I'm going to draw some circles instead. So let's open up the draw tray and grab a circle block. So now if I click on the canvas and hold it down and move, we get a nice little line that we can draw with. Yay! It's a solid smiley face. Okay, now black circles are alright, but I think we should make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more colourful, a bit more random. So I'm gonna go and open up the math tray and I'm gonna grab a random number block. I'm going to drag that into our circle radius. Let me just move this over a bit. And I'm going to make the circle a random size between the number 10 and 20. And now we've got a nice little blobby brush, kind of like a paintbrush, which I think is a bit more painterly, a bit more fun. Let's give our drawing some colour. Let's open up the draw tray and grab a fill colour block. Now, instead of putting it in the touch on move, I'm going to put it on the on touch event. So every time we touch the canvas, I want a different color to come up. So I'm going to open up the color tray and grab a random color and pop that in there. So now when I touch the canvas, we're going to get a different color every time I let go and touch somewhere else. I think I'm going to do a little bit of rejiggling. I'm going to move our fill color and pop our background color so that it just sets once when we start our app. So it's not always constantly changing as we're drawing, because it can get a bit distracting. So now if you want a different background color, you can restart the app. And then I think I'm going to leave it blue, and I'm going to draw a beautiful flower. Oh, great random color. that's pretty nice for a random color, for it to be green for a flower. And I'm going to draw so we can have every single petal a different color, because every time we touch the canvas, it picks a different random color for us. How fun is that? There you have it, event blocks.
Awesome, so that was a lot of fun watching her play around with the event block. And the exciting thing about this is that now we get to go in and have fun with the event block ourselves. So to get started, this is the first challenge, which is to create a paintbrush. And if you enjoyed watching her play with the colors and like switch backgrounds and stuff, I'm happy to tell you that we're going to do the exact same thing right now with this first challenge. So as always, I'm going to go in here and just start the challenge. So in this challenge, you will learn how to draw on a canvas using the touch event, which is exactly what she just did, or somewhat, somehow. Okay, so start by setting the background color of the canvas, and to do that, I'm going to open the draw tray and attach this. And now I'm going to grab a random color block from the color tray, so that way every time that I start my app or I click, every time that I start my app, I get a different background color. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is to add the touch button, or the touch part. So I'm going to go in here and add my first event block, which I'm going to do by looking inside of the touch tray. And now I'm clicking and dragging this into my workspace. So the next thing to do is to set what my paint is going to look like. So this is me going into my draw tray. I'm going to select the draw block and go into the color tray and select a random color, because I want to get a surprise every time that I click on my, every time I click my mouse to attempt to draw something. So for the thickness of my drawing or my painting or whatever my code executes, I'm going to make it 10, just so it's big enough. Next, we're going to move to the position that we want to draw from, where you touched or clicked on the canvas using a move block to open the draw tray. So I'm going to go in here and select this and attach it to the event that we already selected. And now I'm back to my touch tray, and then I'm going to select the touch X for my X position and touch Y for my Y position. So use the touch on move event to draw a line when you move your finger or mouse. To do that, I'm going to go back into my touch tray and select the touch on move block, and back into my draw tray I'm going to select the draw block, and now I'm back in here to do the same thing, follow the same steps like we did in the earlier challenge. Okay, so now we're going to try to draw something. You'll see that the lines where the lines draw to where exactly you're touching or clicking. That way, let's see. Oh, this is kind of cool. This isn't what I want, so we're still going to do some changes to our block, but I really like this. It's kind of cool. Let me just have some fun with it before we go on to the next part of the challenge. Okay. Let's make it so that the position that we draw from updates as we move the mouse or your finger. So to do that, I'm going to go back into my draw tray and select my draw block, and that goes into the event block that moves with my touch. So, and then I'm going to go and add the X and the Y. And now try moving your finger around the canvas or clicking and holding down your mouse to draw something. Nice. So this is much better than the disaster that we had before, or the fun. Don't let me call it a disaster. This is much better than what we had earlier. Please don't ask me what I'm trying to draw. I'm just going with the flow. Awesome. So let's see what happens next. Now let's add a finishing touch. A button that would clear the canvas when we press it. And so to do that, we're going to add a button. I'm clicking here, we're adding a button, and now I'm going into the button tray, and I'm going to attach that to when the app starts. Let me move that up a little bit, and now I'm changing that to 400 and changing the Y to 550. Oop, nope, that is wrong. 550. Okay. Awesome. So we're going to add an event block for the button. To do that, I'm going back into my button tray, and I want to make the code restart when my button is pressed. So I'm going to go and tell it that when the button is clicked, I want it to restart my code. So it looks like we completed our challenge, and what we get to do now is to test out what we just did. So what would you guys like me to draw first? Let me try to do a cat. This is going to be a very colorful cat because the color changes every time I click on the mouse. This is a great way to test if our code actually works right. The colors are very similar though, right? Oh, that was an error. But yeah. Okay. So that works. And if I click, it restarts. Let's try to do a house this time. This is a very colorful house. Okay. Yes, I'm not an artist. Nobody come for me. But yeah, let's try to give it a door and a keyhole and a chimney. I don't think anyone would want to live in a house that looks like this. But yeah, this is just to test that our code works effectively and it does exactly what we want it to do. Let me try to do one last thing. What would you guys like me to draw? Let me try to find a more suitable backdrop. Okay, I'm gonna try to do a fish now. I'm clearly failing. I'm sure you guys can do better than me. And if you maybe figure it out and you're able to create something that's much cooler than what I have now, please go ahead, do it, and send me a screenshot or like a picture of it as an email at the DoSpace, hello DoSpace, hello at DoSpace email. Awesome. So I think we're taking on too much time with this. I'm sure you guys can take as much time as you want when you do this at your own pace, but we're going to go on to the next challenge so that we can see. Okay, in this challenge, you're going to be using events that are triggered when you make noise. So let's get started. First, we're going to add a microphone part using the Add Parts button. Okay. And inside the microphone tray, I'm going to drag out the block that says and change this to under. The microphone part measures the volume from 0 to 100, at 100 being the loudest. Let's set up some code to run when the volume is under 70. So to do that, we're going to open the draw tray and then select and connect. And I'm going to change my backdrop, my background color to black, just like the instruction says. And now I'm going to go ahead and add a sticker part using the Add Parts button. And I got my sticker. And now I'm going to select the sticker block and attach it right here. And now I'm going to select the sleep block. So we're going to grab another microphone event block from the microphone tray. So make the background color change when things get loud. To do that, I'm going to open the draw tray and select the option to change my background color to a bright red. Okay. And now I'm going to go in here and select my sticker. I'm kind of repeating the same steps, but instead, this time I'm going to select the face that says shh. Okay, so to finish off my creation, I'm going to add some text. And to do that, I'm going to add the text part right here and connect it. And I'm going to move my X position to 400 and move my Y position to 500. Awesome. And the next thing to do would be to choose my text size, which I'm going to change to 600. And now I'm going to decide what my text says every time that my volume goes up or goes under 70. So now I'm going to, oh, okay, I wasn't done. Awesome, so we're good to go. So let me make this full screen so everyone can see. So every time that I speak into the mic, you can see that it tells me to be quiet because someone's taking a nap. And every time that I stop talking, which I'm going to do in a couple of seconds, and every time that I stop talking, it tells me shh, to be quiet. This is very cool. Hello. 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 Okay. Awesome. That's very cool. And that's another way to, I guess, use our event block to see how exactly it works in programming. So now we're going to move on to our next challenge. And for this challenge, I believe we're going to get some music. So we're going to, if anyone has ever had a dream to be a DJ, this is where we get to practice how to make that happen. So get the party started and spin a record like a DJ. So the first thing we're doing is we're adding the sticker, and I'm going into my sticker tray to select the sticker image block, and I'm going to change that to a record. And now I'm back to my sticker tray, and I'm going to connect a block that changes the size, but now we're going to go up to 200. Nice. And next we're going to add another button this time. And inside our button tray, we're going to go move our button from, oh no, we're definitely moving it somewhere else and not the top corner. So I'm going to set my X position to 400, and my Y position is going to be 550. Awesome. That's where it should be. Next, we're going to get our next event block. So when we click on the button, what do we want to happen? So I'm going into my control tray to add a loop. So every 1 millisecond, I want my disk to rotate in. Okay. Next, we're going to hit the button to make sure that the record spins. Let me press it a few times to see how fast it goes. The more you click, the faster it spins. This is, I'm going to stop it now so it doesn't break. So I'm going to do it again. So once you click the first time, it starts clicking at the speed of 1, and every time that you click, it adds 1 up to the speed, and it keeps getting faster. Awesome. So that's cool. So let's move on with the rest of the challenge. So now we're spinning a record. We're going to add tunes to it. To do that, I'm going to go into the add parts, and then I'm going to get a speaker. And inside my speaker tray, I'm going to get a speaker loop just to give my spinning some sound. And I'm going to change this to Amen. Next, I'm going to fix my speaker's volume. So now I'm going to change this to 0. So that when the app starts, there's no music at all, and every time that I spin my disc, I get some music, right? That's how DJs do it, I think. Next, I'm going to set my pitch. To do that, I'm going to go into my variable tray and select the 0 block and change that to 80. Back into my speaker tray, I'm going to select the speaker pitch, and yeah. Next, into my variables tray, I'm going to select the item block and connect it to my speaker pitch, and then change that to pitch. Interesting. Next, I'm going into my math tray and selecting this block, and it goes right under here, and I'm changing item to pitch and changing 1 to 5. So every time I press the button, the pitch goes up by 5. So now it is time to do my favorite thing, which is to test out my code. like before, if I click, it goes faster, and the more I click, the faster it goes. Awesome. So that was pretty cool. That almost took us to a party right there. Nice. So in the first activity, we were artists. We learned to paint with like events block. Next, we are what did we do next? We played with sound, which we became DJs to do that. I wonder what we're going to do in the next challenge, because I think we have 1 or 2 more challenges to go. Oh, one more challenge. And this is the challenge to grow a pizza. So now after painting and making some music, we're gonna go ahead and eat, right? Awesome. In this challenge, you're going to make a magical pizza that grows. Okay? To do that, we're going to start by setting our background color. To do that, I'm going to go into my draw tray and select the block that says set background color to, what am I setting my background color to? Any color that I want. Let me see. I like more like blue tones because it's cool. So, okay. This time you're going to be using a slider to make things happen. So add a slider part using the add parts button. So here I am clicking on the slider, and inside of my slider tray, I'm going to select the slider move to X and Y block, and I'm changing 0 to 400 and changing my Y to 500. Next, we're going to make the slider bigger so it's easier to drag. To do that, I'm opening my slider tray and I'm setting size to scale 200. The next thing we're going to do is use my event block. So slider on change. The code that we put inside of this event will run whenever we move the slider. So let's drop some blocks in the, to do that, we're going to open the draw tray and draw. Now you're going to draw a pizza that grows when you move the slider. Open the draw tray to do that, and I'm going to get my loop that says draw repeat in the circle 6 branches. Interesting. Next, we're going to draw out our pizza, I believe. So I'm going to change my X from 5 to 0 and go into my slider tray and get my y-axis to be the slider value. So now we're going to add some pizza slices. To do that, we're going into the draw tray to select our stamp block, and of course we're going to go down to pizza. And now we're going to go to the canvas and drag the slider. The slider goes from 1 to 100, with 0 being on the left and 100 being on the right. Okay, where we drag it all the way across. The slider value block stores this number, so when you drag the Y position, it changes the pizza slices to move further away from each other. Okay. Oh, that's not what I want. I mean, now we have our pizza slices, but I think they're facing in the wrong direction, right? Okay. So next, we're going to add a slider value. And next, we're going to change the rotation of the slices from 0 to 180, so hopefully that fixes our issue that we have there. Drag the slider again and watch the pizza get bigger. Nice, this is exactly what we want, right? Make the pizza magically multiply with a lerp block. To do that, we're going to open the math tray, and right here I'm going to change this from 200 to 8. Next, I'm going back into my slider tray and getting my slider value. Okay, now that's complete. It is time to eat. Let's see. Very cool. I guess this is it. That is the end of our events challenge. Oopsie, right here. Yeah, give yourself a pat on the back. We have successfully completed all of the challenges on the event block, on the events challenges. That's awesome. But since we have some time, I think I'm going to find us a fun activity that we can do for like the next 5 to 10 minutes to see what, let me see. Let's go in here and just explore more of the Kano Code world. And let's see. Okay, let's do a virtual pet stimulator. So we're going to go get our pet first of all. The first step in creating a virtual pet is to hatch it. So to do that, we're going to create the pet and put it in an egg, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and follow the steps just so we're able to get all that we want by the end. I'm going into the logic block and attaching back to my variables tab. I'm going to go set my item and set my pet to a random value, okay, from animals. Cool. So now I'm going into my control tray to get a loop, and I'm changing seconds to frames, and back to my draw tray. I'm going to make sure the drawing clears every time. So every time my egg hatches, I get a new pet. So now I'm setting my background color. Next, I'm going back into my draw tray to select the positions that I want to move. And 300. Next, we're going to go back into our draw tray to select the stamp. And now inside of our variable tray, we select item. And now I'm going to change that to pet. Awesome. And I'm changing 100 to 150. And now I'm going into my logic tray, and right here, this is a good way to introduce you guys to logic, because I believe logic is going to be our next activity. So we're working with logic next week. So I guess we'll get introduced to logic right now to do this activity, and then when we get there next week, it would make more sense because we would learn how logic in programming actually works. So I'm going to change the color of my egg to white, and I'm going back into my draw tray to draw my circle, the ellipse for my egg, and I'm changing this to 160 and changing my height of my egg to 200. Awesome. So now we have created the egg. As you can see, the idea behind this is every time that we hatch the egg, it gives us a new pet. So now we're doing the code that helps us. Okay. Make sure to pause. Finally, we're going to add some sound to give us the hatching sound. I'm going to change that to snap. Awesome. So let me make sure that you guys can hear me and hear the egg hatch. So let's do this. So every time that you hatch the egg, it gives you a different pet. Again, again, ooh, nice. You could almost guess what you're going to get before you get it. Nice. So that's it. I think maybe next week we'll go on to the next challenge to feed our pets. So I hope that our pet stays safe for now, and then we would go back to taking care of our pet next week. Awesome. So that is all that I have for you today. Like I said, next week we're going to go on to working with logics. We did loops in the past, and last week we worked with variables, and today we did events. So next week we're going to go on to working with logic and understanding the concept of logic in programming. And that's all that I have for you today. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to send us an email at hello@dospace.org. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. It was fun having you guys here with me today. So I'll see you later, okay? Bye.